Quick movies here. Today I'm going to explain a science fiction and dream show called Love, Death and Robots Ice Age. Spoilers ahead. Keep an eye out and fare thee well. As several maneuvers into their new loft as Ransack, the spouse, brings a couple of boxes up into the spot. His better half, Gail, enlightens him concerning a crazy old cooler in the corner that the landowner abandoned. Ransack thinks that it is entrancing, noticing the way in which the engine is above rather than under, similar to fridges these days since hot air rises. He remarks that it doesn't appear to be legit to put the engine under, permitting the hot air it produces to go up the cooler. Nonetheless, Gail scarcely focuses, and she just consents to the things Burglar Eyes says. She then draws out a jug of wine and inquires as to whether he needs to drink. Burglar Eyes gets invigorated and opens the old refrigerator to get some ice. Be that as it may, the cooler is filled up with ice, however he actually figures out how to get a little 3D square of ice. The couple then makes a short toast to their new coexistence before Ransack could take a taste of his beverage. He sees something inside the ice. He removes it from the glass and shows it to Gail, requesting that she affirm what's inside the ice shape. Gail looks nearer and turns out to be similarly pretty much as shocked as her significant other, needing to affirm what she saw. Gail snatches an amplifying glass to review the ice 3D square intently. Shockingly, inside, it is a small mammoth with lances in its body. Gail contemplates whether there are a greater amount of these things in the cooler. So she opens it. She rapidly takes out the garbage inside and gets stunned by what she sees with this. Ransack takes a look and remarks, "There's a lost civilization in the fridge." Sufficiently genuine, the cooler contains a smaller than expected working middle-aged city. All that inside moves so quick, with the little individuals going as the day progressed, typically unaffected by the two monsters drifting close to their city. In dismay, Gail claims that what's going on doesn't appear to be legit, and Ransack concurs. She then explains that they're seeing an early middle-aged city when woolly mammoths vanished at some point in the late Neolithic period. Burglar Eyes disregards it and just concurs with his better half to conceal his obliviousness later on. Denai covers the frozen mammoth in a pot of soil. Loot appears to be miserable about it. So Gail eases up the mindset and says it will presumably make for a decent manure. Interest dominates and the two check the cooler once more. Incredibly, everything has changed radically. What used to be a middle-aged city is currently a modernized spot during the modern unrest. Industrial facilities and railways are fabricated, covering the cooler sky with smoke. Several realizes that they've just been away for 10 minutes, yet many years have proactively gone by for the scaled-down individuals. With this, Gail hypothesizes, the time moves contrastingly inside the cooler as they witness the modern transformation at incredible speed. Burglar Eyes is frustrated that they missed the Renaissance period. He sees two scaled-down men sitting by a structure under development and miracles that individuals see them as divine beings. Notwithstanding, the men are really ridiculing them, seeing them as strange appearances overhead that are gazing at the city. One man even remarked that he's worn out on seeing the broccoli that trapped in Gail's 10 seconds after the fact. Modernized structures are raised. Burglar Eye sees things zooming around and Gail distinguishes them as planes as additional high-rises are fabricated. Gail accepts that the small-scale individuals have arrived right now. Burglar Eyes affirms this when he sees a Starbucks store and trade at the bistro truly jumps out all over. All at once he sees something peculiar, so he investigates. Unexpectedly, a rocket falls into the center of the city and detonates. The blast blinds Ransack, making him step back and fall onto the floor. Gail helps them up and advises them to quiet down. In any case, Ransack panics, shouting that strategic nukes are detonating in their cooler. Notwithstanding, Burglar Eye's face is pretty much as red as a tomato, and Gail could scarcely keep an indifferent expression as the cooler detonates with tremendous atomic bombs. Gail hands a sparkling toaster oven to her significant other, allowing him to perceive how the intensity from the blast made his face gleam red. Ransack moans. However, at that point he sees what is happening in the cooler just turned out to be more awful. Several gazes at it as they hear shouts, shots and blasts. With this, Gail shuts the cooler and says that individuals couldn't realistically grow out of battle shortly. Hearing this, Loot asks what they ought to do, and Gail answers that they ought to arrange pizza. Soon thereafter, several has pizza for supper while they trust what is happening will subside. An hour has passed and Ransack suggests that they ought to look at the cooler. He trusts that the smaller than normal individuals got an opportunity to revamp their city. Yet, Gale tenderly lets them know that they need to embrace the likelihood that they didn't make it. In any case, Ransack goes to the cooler and opens it at any rate. Incredibly, the cooler gleams. A glowing city isn't cars with the capability to fly. Gale claims that it seems to be the Emerald City, yet with not so much emerald but rather more cutting-edge gadgets. Seeing this makes Burglar Eyes blissful, wondering about how delightful everything is. Unexpectedly, a structure arises directly before them and Ransack jokes that it seems to be a grown-up toy. All of a sudden, everything raises and a gigantic pyramid shows up in the center of the modern city. It gleams splendidly and consumes power from the scaffolds appended to it. At last it transforms into a dual-mold stronghold and consumes the entire city until it blasts into a chunk of energy. The magnificent energy detonates like a star, and dashes of light start to zip around Robin. Gale's kitchen filling their condo with light. The wondrous light captivates them both. During this period, it seems like the small-scale individuals have sorted out the insider facts of existence travel. After this, the dashes of light revisitation of the cooler accumulate into a circle and vanish. This wipes out the grins. Bedouins and Gale's countenances confounded at what they recently saw. Burglar Eyes contemplates whether the smaller-than-normal individuals will at any point return, yet Hurricane believes it's improbable. Along these lines, Ransack sorrowfully pulls the fridge's plug as though he's tolerating that those little individuals will stay away forever. Realizing that Ransack has become attached to the smaller-than-expected individuals, Storm embraces him in solace. She then, at that point, shuts the cooler, choosing to tap out. The following day, Denai puts out cups of espresso and hands one to Hurricane without saying a word to one another. Both marvel about the smaller-than-expected civilization in their cooler, with a tiny smidgen of trust that the scaled-down individuals are as yet alive. They opened the cooler again to find cold fog spilling out regardless of it being turned off. Inside, they witness another ice age where crude sapiens consumed the carcass of a strong brachiosaurus. It seems like life in the cooler has restarted and it has now gotten back to the age of the dinosaurs. All at once, a thunder cautions a sapiens of the showing up Tyrannosaurus rex. The sapiens run as one is gotten between the dinosaur's teeth. The last sapiens tumbles with the T-Rex shutting in, lurching for the kill. Many cases that the cooler resembles a pocket universe that shows how life develops with the eventual result of leaving reality. Some might believe that the cooler showed the finish of their reality, however it could likewise imply that the small people track down an alternate aspect to live in. It's dubious how frequently this course of life happened in the old cooler, or on the other hand assuming it generally plays out the same way. The past proprietors might have seen life sprout and bite the dust more than once, in the long run getting exhausted of it, in this manner abandoning the phenomenal cooler. Albeit the show never uncovered who made life inside the cooler, an episode named God Serengeti by Oats Studios may very well propose who did. A crowd of elephants traversed a field, however their field is on a table in a puzzling man's study. The elderly person doesn't focus on this as he's bustling perusing a book. His steward, Jeffrey, asks how the book is and the man remarks that it's excessively specialized, adding that he inclines toward mayhem. In any case, he prefers a recipe for a dark opening from the book. He directs his concentration toward the little creatures in his pocket world and chuckles at a smaller-than-normal man who's scouring two remains together. Unexpectedly, the Homo sapiens finds how to make fire, and the elderly person is infuriated. He grumbles that he didn't see those individuals could do something like this since he should give fire. Jeffrey takes note of that the ongoing time span is more than 200,000 years before they should give them fire. Along these lines, the elderly person orders Jeffrey to put the fire out so the steward blows onto the table, making the breeze that snuffs out the blazes. In any case, the elderly person is pissed, so he advises Jeffrey to return them to their caverns. The steward complies, so he sets off the elephants to rush towards the people, driving them to stow away. After it's finished, the elderly person is as yet irritated at what has occurred, so he intends to recoil the cerebrums of the small creatures to keep them from settling on their own decisions. Not long after the Homo sapiens leave the cavern again to play out a downpour dance, Jeffrey advises him that they haven't switched off the dry spell, so the elderly person orders him to shower some water on the dry, easily overlooked details. Jeffrey joyfully obliges and splashes water over the table, making it downpour on the field. He remarks that their god is forgiving as a Homo sapiens celebrate. The elderly person laughs at seeing their energy, so he arranges his dependable steward to splash more water. As Jeffrey does as such, new plants start to grow from the little field. At last, he's had enough of his tomfoolery and the elderly person advises Jeffrey to deliver the plague. The steward delays, yet the elderly person is determined about finishing this little game with no decision. Jeffrey opens an old-fashioned box and takes an extravagant container from Ed with wrinkled temples. Jeffrey showers this over the Homo sapiens, and individuals break down as they take their last breaths. The elderly person essentially watches this from over his book prior to going on with his perusing. The tale about creation portrays God as both lenient and unforgiving, while he gives water to the parched creatures on his table. He likewise takes their lives in a snap whenever he's burnt out on watching them both love passing and robots, Ice Age and God Serengeti to introduce their own renditions of exceptional creatures, Loot and Hurricane watch life, develop and kick the bucket without mediation, yet with compassion toward the civilizations they witness. Conversely, Different presents a more elaborate God who's unresponsive to the lives on his table, regarding them as diversion that he can just mood killer. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave it like, it really helps the channel. Thank you for watching.